Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucs. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, as always, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Good morning. It was a late night last night of football and baseball. So here we are. I'm a little sleepy.
Yeah, I'm a little sleepy, but that's okay. It was an unfortunate late night because the Dolphins lost. That sucked. But the Rangers won. They did something that they couldn't do. They won. Actually, no, never mind. They did exactly what everyone's been doing. They won an away game.
Yeah, the ALCS has been pretty wild so far. We've got a game 7 tonight, and the road team has won all 6 games.
That's
so much for that. So much for that home field advantage, I guess.
I know, right?
But hey, I guess home field advantage ends up meaning if Houston can win tonight, then home field advantage, right? But yeah, it's been a weird series. That one's been a fun series. The Phillies Diamondback, they've both been really good series.
Like, I think in their own little ways, they've each definitely been interesting. And I mean, Zach Wheeler has just been dominant. And apparently Ranger Suarez also just the most dominant pitcher in the MLB Playoffs history. Because of course.
So the Phillies get to go home now where they've dominated, right? I don't think the Phillies have lost a home yet this postseason. Or are they 5-7-0, something like that? 7-0, I want to say.
Probably. Yeah.
They're that environment there is pretty nuts.
They're showing out these playoffs for sure.
So heading back there for 2 games, like they just got to win 1 now out of 2 at home. I find it hard to believe that Arizona would pull it off, but I mean, weirder things have happened. But yeah, you've got Aaron Nola going tonight for the Phillies, and then Ranger Suarez in a possible game 7. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's pretty much like where it is. Like you said, like it's in Philadelphia. Those are 2 horses. Arizona's. I don't think they have the pitching to do it. It's going to be tough.
I mean, Arizona's got Merrill Kelly going tonight, and then tomorrow's probably just like a bullpen game, maybe, because I don't think Brandon Pfaadt will be ready again.
Though I don't know, like in a game 7 situation, maybe he better be ready.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you figure it out, but no, it's been a good series. Watching the playoffs always kind of brings me back to when the Pirates were good.
Wow,
makes
a little boy, little James.
It makes me think about 2013, just the environment, like that Phillies atmosphere. It's very reminiscent of kind of like just what PNC Park was like, when Pittsburgh was in it. So it's fun. It's fun to see like really meaningful baseball.
Yeah. Now, just like a weird stat, and like I'm not taking ownership of this. I heard them, they've been talking about it here and there, but like, going back to the ALCS and how every away team has won. Like Houston's 39-42 at home on the year in the regular season. Like they don't win at home. How crazy is that? They're 51-30 on the road.
That doesn't make any sense.
39-42 at home.
That's weird. I hadn't known that. That's incredible. That
so like game 7, they're in the building that they lose in.
Yeah, so I wonder if you can like if you're the Astros, you're like, you know what, we defer. We'll play in in Arlington.
They should all like get a group hotel and just pretend like it's away.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And I wonder I wonder why that is. Like, I wonder if there's
I
like a
don't
specific
know.
reason, like the way the team's built or something. Because I'm trying to think. Like the Astros have a few, really good left-handed hitters, and that ballpark obviously is a little bit better. If you can yank one as a righty, but like it's not necessarily a pitcher's park in any way, except like deep left center or something like that. But no, that's weird. I don't get that.
I don't either.
That doesn't make any sense.
And like
Those
they're
weird
so good away. So good. Like the fact that they're this good of a record, and they lost at home.
Yeah,
I
you don't
don't
see
like.
that.
I just can't fathom this. Right. But anyways, yeah. So that's interesting. So they're game 7. They're at home. They have a losing record at home. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? And so now think about who's pitching for the Rangers. Max Scherzer's coming back. He's pitching in Houston, where Houston can't win apparently. Yeah, like you're talking about some game 7 spiciness right there.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one too. I mean, the Rangers and Astros are pretty evenly matched. They were both had the exact same record over the entire regular season. Um, yeah, Scherzer, he didn't look too good his first time out. You got to wonder if he's maybe still not built up. He's been kind of out for a little bit, but Javier going for Houston, and he's been a monster in the postseason.
Yeah. Like that's definitely a dude you don't mind having on there for game 7 if you're Houston.
Mm-mm.
And like Max Scherzer's that wild card. I mean, this is the reason you traded for Max Scherzer.
Oh yeah,
And he's
yeah. Like
here. It's just
this is you get Scherzer for moments like this, and yeah, he's facing Christian Javier, who's had pitched in 16 postseason games, started 4 games. He's got a 2.08 ERA in his career in the postseason. He's been really really good.
yeah, in this postseason a 1.69 ERA. He's balling out. So yeah, like
Yeah,
again, like this is two really good games tonight. Because again, like we're talking about like game 6, but it's in Philly. It's Nola. Like it's probably the best pitching matchup you're going to see out of that series or the rest of the series if there is another game 7. From there, and like tonight's pitching matchup for the Rangers. I mean, this is all must see TV. It should be. It's the MLB playoffs. But again, like that dynamic, Houston, the Rangers could absolutely win this. Like the Rangers have to win 2 games in Houston, and they absolutely could do so. And they check mark. They got game 6 last night in a very fashionable way. They looked, and Jim, you can attest to it in the group chat. I mean, they looked like they're about to give it up and lose. They pulled through. I mean, bases were loaded with 1 out, down. I'm sorry, up by what 2 runs? It was
they were up by 2 in the 8th.
2. Yep. Things were falling apart. They held through, and then they decided to score 9 runs. All of that.
Yeah, Sam Leclerc has been really good out of the Rangers bullpen. Like the Astros bullpen has been significantly better than the Rangers throughout the course of this series, and that wasn't the case last night. The Rangers, the Rangers were not Sam Leclerc, Jose Leclerc. He was able to get it done last night for the Rangers, and then Haney came out and closed it out in 4 pitches. But by that point, game was over. Texas scored 5 runs in the top half of the 9th inning to kind of put it out of reach. Yeah, that series, it's just been wild. Like those 2 teams they're really good. And I think when you're watching the postseason, we're a Pirates podcast, so we can kind of spin this to for the Pirates here. You're seeing a pretty common denominator on teams who are in the position that they're in right now, and the ones who are going to move on. One, they've got pretty good starting pitching that you can rely on, and it doesn't have to be the whole staff. Like 2 guys,
Right.
you can
The
really
Phillies.
really rely on, right? And then a third, hopefully, but like a must two. And then on top of that, lockdown bullpens. We're seeing really good bullpen usage here, and that's just something that kind of gets intensified during the postseason when every single at bat matters. You get a lot more pitching changes. Every pitch means more, so you're gonna see a lot of relievers, but you've got to have a stable of arms to get through a 7-game series because there's a lot of innings to pitch, a lot of high pressure innings to pitch. And then the third thing you're seeing is all these guys can hit the ball over the fence. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's where, if you're the Pirates, you think, okay, we've got Keller, who we could rely on in a postseason. We've got Paul Skeens. Hopefully, like, you draft him for these. This is why you draft him, right?
Yep.
Now he hasn't pitched a major league game yet, but that is the reason for drafting Paul Skeens. But then you look at the other, and you look at the Pirates bullpen. It's pretty good. I don't know if it's quite to the level of these teams, but it was one of the strengths of the team last year. But then you look at the lineup, and you're like, the Pirates do not have an ounce of the power that these teams have. And like the Pirates have a few decent power hitters, right? But like the Pirates don't have a Yordan Alvarez on their team. The Pirates don't have a Kyle Schwarber or a Bryce Harper on their team. And the Pirates don't have a Corey Seager or a Dulles Garcia. Like these guys who just mash balls. Pirates don't have those guys. Maybe Cruz ends up being one of those guys, but like we don't know. Dude's played like 100 major league games.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's honestly my biggest takeaway from watching these, and it's not as if like we don't watch baseball outside of the Pirates and such, right? But like this postseason, I think maybe it's in our mindset because the Pirates are finally at that position where it's potentially go time. Like winning has to occur. There's no more rebuild. There's no more what pieces can we trade away to get better. It's approaching time of okay, it's time to get good. We need to start seeking playoffs. And if this rebuild is a success, how good is this team going to be? And you're exactly right. You're nailing on the head right there. That's as I'm watching this, I just keep thinking like, and I think tweet it out. Can the Pirates be this? Like, can the Pirates be Philly? Because honestly, like you look at regular season, we talked about this. Like the Braves Dodgers were the better teams. We wanted to see Braves Dodgers. You talk time and time. Like you want to see those teams go up head to head. But we've also talked the postseason is different from regular season. And like what teams built for the postseason, and like the Phillies are. The Phillies are absolutely built for it. You mentioned about the pitching depth. You don't necessarily need the depth. I mean, the Braves and Dodgers both had the depth to get through the season on pitching. But they don't have them dudes, right? Those two that just are locked down, especially the Dodgers at this point in time due to injuries and cases that are happening. But
yeah.
Like the Phillies absolutely do. Like you mentioned, like what do you see out of each team? And each team has at least two dudes. I mean, the Diamondbacks are, I think, the perfect example of that. Like they're relying, and that's kind of the issue. Like Zach Gallen hasn't had it this postseason, or at least not with the Phillies. They've been tearing him up this series, which is unfortunate. That's why the Diamondbacks are in that position. But like when you look at the Pirates and spin it, how can the Pirates get here? And that's when you look and you say, like, there's still a lot of work. Like things have to turn. I'm not saying they can't, right? But that bullpen is probably the closest to playoff ready from these teams. Still a ways off. I mean, yeah, like Mitch Keller, you hope you can rely on, but honestly, like Mitch Keller might be like that third dude. Hopefully, maybe he's on, right? Like going into the postseason, he's having a run. He's definitely on, but like you said, you absolutely need Paul Skeens to be that dude to even have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, I mean, you kind of think that Keller and Gallen kind of went head to head with each other as far as Cy Young talks for a good 4 months this year. So I think like you could say, yeah, like Keller could be your Gallen, which is fine. Like Gallen was good against Milwaukee. He won his start against Milwaukee. He won his start against LA, but they've lost his 2 starts against Philly. And the home run ball's been the reason why. He's given up 5 homers in his 2 starts against Philadelphia. But yeah, like, absolutely. Like you think you start putting pieces together, and you're like, the Pirates need a lockdown guy. Like the Pirates need a Zach Wheeler type arm. They need an Aaron Nola type arm. And Aaron Nola, again, he's been pitching really, really well. Very capable. I mean, he's got a really good track record. This year
Yeah.
wasn't like outstanding for him, but like everyone knows Aaron Nola is a pretty good pitcher. But yeah, it's interesting just kind of watching the games happen and thinking to yourself, like, how can the Pirates replicate this? And I'm not really quite sure. Like, I think there's a path to do it from a pitching rotation standpoint. The offense is the piece where I don't know if the pieces are there for them to build just a lineup that can grind out 7-game series. I don't know, against the best teams in baseball. Um, guys gotta really step up. Like you need boppers, and right now they don't have any. That's the issue.
Yeah, but, like, honestly, too, like, the thing you mentioned, like, Jordan and Bryce Harper, the power, like, the Pirates don't have the power, but think about those 2 guys too, is, like, they can just flat out hit.
Mhm.
It's not, if you wanna go the Schwarber route, right? There's not met there's no Schwarbers, right? But, the thing about Schwarber is, like, he gets on base and he hits home runs and he strikes out, more or less, like, Bryce Harper's a dude, like, Jordan Alvarez is a dude. That's why, like you said, like, you're hoping Cruz can turn into that. Brian Reynolds is probably the closest to it, and Brian Reynolds is really just like a complementary piece in these lineups. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
mean,
look at these
I,
lineups, and Brian Reynolds is similar to Brandon Marsh. I
okay,
mean, there are
that's
Nick
that's a little
Castellanos.
unfair, but
Let's
yeah,
let's let's say Nick
okay,
Castellanos. All
there
right,
you
Brandon
go.
Marsh may be up. Brandon Marsh unfair. Nick Castellanos, similar output.
Yeah, and he's a fine player. Like Nick Castellanos
Mhm.
is a good player,
Yeah,
but you need a cast of those. Like again, like in going back to like the Dodgers lineup, the Braves lineup. Like Brian Reynolds is one of the guys on those lineups, which is good,
yeah,
but that's what we're talking about. Like these lineups are really, really good. They're really, really deep and they're very talented. And that was like our biggest, I think, concern with this rebuild. We keep talking about the depth of the talent. There's a lot of talent in this organization, but there's like no real stars. Like O'Neill Cruz was potentially that one dude. And outside of that, who is there? And so far, I mean, granted, they got the number 1 overall pick. So Paul Skeens comes in and now you have that guy. But like that's what you're finding so far with this rebuild. And now you're seeing the playoffs and you're trying to match it up in pieces. Like that's what you're seeing. Like every worry we had is coming to fruition right now. There's just not a whole lot of actual dudes in this organization, I feel, outside of like O'Neill Cruz, potentially, and Paul Skeens, potentially.
yeah,
Hopefully some guys can step up, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're looking at a team that you could potentially emulate, like the Diamondbacks are very similar to what like next year's Pirates could look like, and the Diamondbacks are in the NLCS. But the Diamondbacks look like they aren't going to have enough firepower to get to the next round. And
Mhm.
we could be watching, if you're watching this on Wednesday, and the Diamondbacks took both games in Philly, then I'm gonna look like an idiot. But
We're
just
idiots.
kind of yeah, right. The Diamondbacks are, they're a very young team. They rely on speed, defense, pitching, kind of a bunch of arms. They've got not a ton of power, but, like, enough where, like, if they'll come up with the occasional home run. But, yeah, I think, like, the Pirates, that's the team, if you're looking at the postseason, that you could be like, "Alright, like, the Pirates could be these guys." But, again, are those guys gonna win a World Series?
Right. And like they can. It's possible. That's why
It's
baseball is an
possible.
amazing
Yeah.
sport, right? But they definitely look overmatched. Now,
Yeah.
also, like we're talking about, I mean, this is the final four of the MLB postseason. When I look at it that way,
Mhm.
being in the final four of the MLB postseason isn't like terrible. Like these are good teams, regardless. Like I don't want to knock Arizona and be like, oh, this is terrible the way they're built, and they're not going to get the World Series. Is terrible. Like it's still a good team, but like that's what we're talking about. Like, can the Pirates ever come to sniffing the World Series? And that's I don't think making the playoffs is that much of an issue for like the Pirates. Like I'm not like doom and gloom. Like this team is terrible. Like this team can make the playoffs. Like I
Yeah.
certainly
I
see a
mean,
path for the Pirates to make the playoffs. It's a little bit
yeah.
easier these days, but it's still a difficult task, right? And like,
40% of the teams make the playoffs now. 40%.
yeah, but we're talking about the Pirates team that's looked pretty awful these past few years. But right, like I can see this team making the playoffs. How far can this team and there's still a ways to go. Like I hate that to like
Yeah.
label it. This is the team that we're talking about. Like they can still make moves or whatever, but that's what we're getting at. Like how far can this organization go? And that's what I find a tough task now. Like there's certainly players, there's talent. How good and elite is that talent to really take the next level? And I guess like what you can argue too, though. 2013, 2014, like you talk about them Pirates back then. Like there were some studs that like Kutch is a stud. Like we're hoping Cruz can become that, right? But
Yeah.
like even if he does, I felt like they had, and we talk about time and time, especially Tyler, they had to make some really smart free agent moves. And those guys really turned out. And that's a tough, tough task to ask to like replicate.
Yep.
So like these Pirates are going to have to kind of do the same thing. Like they need to acquire some pieces that are just going to turn into dudes. Like, where's this Russell Martin? Where's this AJ Burnett? We need trade deadline Marlon Byrd.
Yeah. That's gonna be problematic because I feel like those players are more difficult to find, right? Like somehow in 2013, Russell Martin was incredibly undervalued. That doesn't happen today. Like you can just pull up Russell Martin's Fangraphs page and you can see that he played his previous 2 seasons with the Yankees and put together over 9 WAR in those 2 seasons. And the Pirates were basically able to get him for not a whole lot of money, right? And you
but without,
right, like that doesn't exist anymore. Like in 2013, you could get
but in
away with something
2013,
like
if you
that.
looked at Fangraphs page, he would have looked awful. It's just now like what the Pirates were finding, right? The inefficiencies is like, oh, this actually has value. And I guess like further your point, like everyone has analytics these days. Everyone's looking. So I feel like, yeah, like the field is kind of level. Like, where do
Mhm.
you find these exposures anymore?
Yeah. So there's just like it's just tougher. I think the one place you can find them is with pitching. I think you can find pitchers who do something really well and just have them rely on the things that they do really well. So I think you can turn around pitching. Hitting, it just comes down to like you've got to have players who are willing to maybe reconstruct a swing and you're really good at it, or someone outside like that's like I feel like that's like the only thing you could do right now is just basically you've got to develop somebody. Like you've got to turn them into a dude. And there's stories of it happening. There's plenty of people who turn into
Yeah, of
dudes,
course.
like Yandy Diaz, perfect example for the Rays. Like when the Rays acquired Yandy Diaz, he was just a regular guy, right? And now he's one of the best hitters in the American League.
Jim, just go down the Rays roster. Just name
Yeah,
every single
right.
person because that's what they are.
So it's I think you can still find them, but you just got to be real strategic. You just got to be really good at executing stuff like that. You got to be really good at developing and coaching guys. And so far, we just haven't really seen that. Like, I guess Brian Hayes and Jack Sawinski, we could say, hey, these are two pretty good success stories that this organization's put together. And Hayes has done it for 2 months, right? So we need to see more of it. But like so far, it looks like he's like on the right page, and Sawinski, seemingly a okay prospect. Like, he wasn't on anybody. Like, he was on the radar, but barely. And he's become a productive major league hitter. So
he was the
they've
secondary piece to Tucupita Marcano. Like,
yeah.
let's
So,
further your point there. He was the
which is
secondary piece.
funny, because when the trade happened, we all said he was the primary piece. Like, no one liked Tucupita Marcano except for Ben Cherington. But
Right.
I digress. Yeah, so that's just where I look at the lineup, and I even go back to like 2015, 2014, like those Pirates teams, they just had a lot of good players. And like, those guys aren't here. Like, you need an MVP caliber guy, and that's what Andrew McCutchen was. So like, who's gonna be the Pirates MVP caliber guy? Because right now they don't have one. At least not one who's shown it. Who's gonna be like, yeah, like who's gonna be that
Like, if
supplemental
Brian Hayes does
guy?
what he's been doing those 2 months, that is an MVP caliber, but
True.
you're asking for a lot from that. And Cruz is just potential right now.
Yeah, I don't think we can really rely on Brian Hayes being like a 7-win player next year. But like, that's what they need. They need somebody to go out there and put up like a 6 or 7 win season. And then they need starting pitching to. They need like workhorses, and Keller looks like that guy. Like, Keller seems like a guy to me who, like, I want him pitching for me in a postseason.
He's a grinder.
I want Mitch Keller. But then, like I said, Paul Skeens, you hope, is that guy. But you need more bats. You need more hitters.
Yeah. Now, if like Peguero can turn into Hanley Ramirez, like, that'll help.
Yeah. No, but
that's the thing. That's part of the, like you said, like, right now you look at the talent level, it's a lot of guys. Like, there's talent, it's depth. You're gonna have to get like that Peguero to turn into those Like, you're gonna have, like you talk about, those success stories. Like, this is the point. Like, you have to turn these guys that look like they could be average dudes into dudes. Like, you have to have those success stories. The development has to come.
Yeah, I mean,
but to your point, like, if Cruz could become like that MVP caliber, I think he's the one that the highest ceiling to do so. Like Brian Hayes being like a 5-WAR player, that's a big success. That's Starling Marte. Okay, like you're coming close to, but then like, who's Neil Walker? Who's Pedro? Who's, like, go down the list? You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of tough. So, maybe it comes, and there's definitely, like, okay, with the depth, that gives you ammo for trades. You could acquire potentially, but I guess that's kind of what we're talking about. Like, they have to nail these upcoming moves that are coming, because they can't match up with any of these teams in the playoffs right now. Like you said, the Diamondbacks are the closest, but they got Kelly, they got Zach Gallen. I mean, those are a couple of dudes right there pitching. That's some talented starting pitching right there.
Those 2 starters are better than the Pirates' top 2 starters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yep.
The Pirates only had 2 starters.
Yeah. The Pirates, with the whole second half of the season, was just 2 guys.
Yeah. So
they basically, you know what it is? They're just that was their way of preparing for the postseason. They were like, we're gonna have a 2-man rotation, and then we're just gonna like piece the rest together.
And we hated practicing. It. You know what? They were ahead of the curve. Yeah, they're just practicing. They knew what they were doing. This is all preparation. You guys have to go every 3 days.
Yep.
Love it. But anyways, yeah. It's been a fun postseason for sure. But in the back of the mind, outside the fun kind of turns to, oh boy, there's a lot of work to do. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, the offseason is going to be a big one, because, and it's not even part of this offseason what makes it so important, and and maybe also frustrating at the same time, is the Pirates need to go out there and acquire better players, right? But one of the biggest things that needs to happen with the Pirates is just the players that they currently have need to get better.
Mhm.
And that's something that we can't see, right? We can see the Pirates sign people. We can see the Pirates make trades. We can see these things, right? Like they're like tangible things that happen. Players getting better over the offseason isn't really something we can see, right? We can see Instagram highlights, when Tread puts up a 30-second video of Mitch Keller throwing 99 miles an hour, and it's like, all right, cool. Well, whatever though. Like, means absolutely nothing.
We've
But
we've we've gone through the social media age.
yeah,
Just
like
Gregory Polanco is the poster child of that.
yeah,
So don't put too much stock into offseason video.
like we've already seen some videos of Henry Davis and Joshua Palacios at drive line, so we've seen those. But it's like those aren't. They're hitting in a batting cage in a controlled environment where like they're trying to hit balls really hard. Like that's what they're trying to do. It's not anything like a game. It's not a game. We're talking about practice, not a game. But
Right.
so like that piece of the equation, it's just something that we'll have to wait and see. Like we have no idea if these guys are getting better this offseason. We hope they are, but we won't know until next year. And that's one of the more frustrating parts of this rebuild, is because like we'll be able to see a few signings, but the rest of it is a complete unknown. Like, is Henry Davis going to be able to hit? Is Andy Rodriguez going to be able to hit? Is Liover Peguero going to be able to hit? Is O'Neal Cruz going to even be able to be the guy that we need him to be? Like, there's all these questions, and we have no idea what the answers are, and we will still have no idea what the answers are opening day 2024.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. The O'Neal Cruz, I think, one that stings the most.
Yeah.
Just losing the whole year development, never be able to come back. I mean, you talk about will he be able to play shortstop? That was the question mark to begin with. Now coming off potentially a bum ankle, can he literally play shortstop? Can he move side to side? I'm hopeful that he can, but you haven't seen it. So, like you're talking about, this is all stuff that you haven't been able to see yet, that you're being hopeful for next year. So, yeah, all these question marks suck. There's certainly optimism. Like I think like Henry Davis can hit. I think ND can hit. So I'm hopeful that his offseason is going to get them right to do so. But you're banking on the hopes and not the, oh, yeah, he can. So he will.
Appreciate you, Pitt City.
Yo.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. We appreciate you watching and listening this morning.
Absolutely.
He does says time for Charrington and Nutting to prove that they ain't full of BS.
You know what? We haven't talked too much about that. I think that's what this offseason actually really needs to show also. You're right. You keep hearing that you kept hearing from the time this rebuild started that, I mean, Nutting's doing the rebuild. Like he fired everyone more or less because he's tired of seeing all these players go to other teams succeed. Like it felt like from the quotes from Nutting that he's starting to get it. And again, these are just quotes. This is just like what he's saying, right? I mean, you got to prove it, of course, but like what he's saying feels like he's starting to get it. Even with Fort talking about like he's trying to learn the game of baseball more. Like, not that he's going to be involved in hands-on and turn like to a Jerry Jones type of an owner, but like that he's trying to get more involved in baseball. You hear the quotes, and then Charrington, like you hear like they're going to shop at other sections of the store, and like there's money to spend. You're hearing all this stuff. So I think, this offseason needs to actually start showing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they haven't spent hardly any money in the last 3 years.
Hardly. They haven't spent any of it.
Yeah, like none, right? So it's like, what are we doing? Like, now's the time to spend it, right? Let's see what they do. I still feel like they're going to be like a little cautious. Like, I'm not anticipating anything big, but I could be wrong. Like if I'm them, I go out there and I find a multi-year starting pitcher, and there's plenty out there. But in order to do that, you're going to have to open up those purse strings,
Which
which
everything
we
they said
haven't seen
about what
before.
this upcoming season is, a winning season to them.
Yeah.
And with everything they said about how like this is different, like the Pirates will spend money when needed. This offseason should tell us a lot, I think. This offseason should tell us if it's really more of the same old Pirates or we've learned our lesson. We're at a point where we need to start competing and we're going to do so. And I'm with I don't think I see like a 10-year, $300 million deal coming from the Pirates, especially this offseason, right? But like this has to be more than our big signing was Carlos Santana.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Like we talk about like how nice it is to have like an Aaron Nola type guy. Well, Aaron Nola's a free agent this offseason. If you really wanted an Aaron Nola type guy, you could just go out there and get Aaron Nola. Now he's going to be expensive. Like if you want Aaron Nola, you got to be prepared to spend about $150 million.
Yeah. Same with
They've
Jordan
never done that.
Montgomery.
They've never done it before. So we'll see.
Now, granted, they never had $100 million contract before either, and then Brian Reynolds this year. So, like, there's again, that's like the bare floor of Brian Reynolds. I know we're trying to like make this a celebration, but like they did do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Pit City. We appreciate it. Do we want to move on to actual Pirates news?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's hit up the Arizona Fall League real quick. Really just want to talk about Jase Bowen. Jase Bowen currently leading the Arizona Fall League in total bases. He has the highest OPS on his team. He's got among qualified hitters. He currently has the 8th highest OPS in the Arizona Fall League. But just to kind of run through Jase Bowen so far, 16 games, 64 at bats. He's hitting 359, 423 on base percentage. He's slugging 625, 3 home runs, which leads his team. I believe that even it's not first in the Fall League, but leads his team. But yeah, the guy is crushing it. I think the most interesting part of all this too, on top of the hitting, is he's shown his versatility. He's played a lot of different positions. I want to say he's played like 5 different positions so far in the Fall League, at least 4. And so you're seeing the ability to move around the diamond while simultaneously being able to hit, which is a very useful skill to have if you're looking to, I don't know, maybe make a 40-man roster this offseason.
Yeah. Just to put it out there. So he's played these, 5 games at first, 2 in center, 1 in left, 7 in right.
Okay.
So some
5
versatility there.
Yeah, 5 positions. Did I count that right? 5?
4.
4. Okay.
First and
it's
all
early.
Outfield.
Yeah, it's early.
If you were looking previously, I think you might have been looking at outfield as a position.
Yeah,
that's how 5 got listed on his page. But anyway,
yeah, Jamie's got a good question though. I mean, he says, you guys weren't big on Bowen, but do you think this changes things, or is the level of competition still not enough to make him quote unquote intriguing? What do you think, Denardo?
Well, here's the thing. I think the reason why we use the word intriguing, or at least for me, is because my eyes are on him a little bit more now. And again, we talk about like if you're going to have short sample, you'd rather have it as good short sample than bad short sample, right? And his short sample right now is very good, but also like you look at the competition, it is very weak still. So the way I guess I look at it, it's been 16 games, but in the 16 games, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, right? He's not striking out a ton, 17 strikeouts in those games. Like, I'm intrigued. I'm not ready to say like Jase Bowen 40-man and Jase Bowen future first baseman or anything like that, right? But it's like, you know what? Of the underwhelming people that the Pirates sent to the AFL, he's the best of them. That's kind of where I'm at, and he's doing the best of them, and he's doing it at a
Yeah.
very, very good clip here. So, like you said, he's really the only one you want to talk about. But like it's still Jase Bowen, if that makes sense. Like that's still where I'm at. Like I don't know if I'm protecting Jase Bowen on this 40 man. I mean, I don't know. Things could change when we really, really want to break down the 40 man upcoming this offseason. But like I'm still not ready to go there with him.
So I would say if you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I was firmly in the there's just no reason to protect this guy camp. And that's just quite frankly looking at he's an outfielder, right? There's if you're going to play a position that is easily somewhere where you can hide a guy, for an entire 180-day season.
The Pirates been hiding 3 of them.
It's hard to just hide an extra outfielder in your lineup, right?
Uh-huh.
Because it's like you need guys who you can rely on there. He's played 8 games above high A. He still struck out 24.5% of the time in high A, which isn't a terrible number, but it was his second go around. Like his first go around, struck out 32% of the time. So but he got better, obviously. We're not even really talking about a guy who like tore up the league either. Like we're talking about high A. The 23 homers looks nice. The 24 stolen bases looks nice. But like a 117 weighted runs created plus. We're not like he was an above average hitter in high A. Like he didn't tear the league up. So you look at that and you just say, why protect this guy? There's no one who's going to pick him. Every single organization has a 23-year-old guy who can play outfield, who put up a 117 weighted runs created plus in high A. Like this isn't a rare thing to do. It's extremely common, and again, probably every team in baseball has a guy like that. Jase Bowen barely is cracking top 30 prospect lists. Barely. That's the Jase Bowen we ended the season with.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're seeing him go to Arizona. And like you said, it's a very small sample size, but he's being compared now to some of the better minor leaguers in the game. And he's not only holding his own, but he's like shining among them. Like he's looked really good. So if the question is, do you use a 40-man spot on him? I still don't know if it would be required. Like I still don't know if there's teams out there who are going out and using a 26-man roster spot on Jase Bowen. But he does look like a guy who is more and more looking like he could be a future major leaguer, right? So you got to kind of think, all right, what's the like, how do we weigh this, right? If there's a spot available for Jase Bowen on the 40-man, and the Pirates don't have a lot of guys they need to add this offseason because they added them all last year, right?
Right.
So like if the spot's there, I don't see that big of an issue with giving him a spot. Now I know the Pirates are going to be better next year than they were this year, but like this team carried Ryan Vilade throughout the whole offseason last year. Like if you did that, you can probably figure out a way to carry Jase Bowen. Again, we're going to be dealing with much different expectations next year, which comes with loftier goals and aspirations for guys on the 40-man roster.
Mm-hmm.
But I think adding Jase Bowen right now wouldn't be a mistake, if that makes sense. I don't think not adding him is a mistake either. Like at this point, I'm good with either way. I still want to see more. The Arizona Fall League still got a few more weeks left. Let's see how he finishes. But I think at this point, he's put himself in a position where like you really got to consider this. I still don't think he's someone who's drafted in the Rule 5 draft. But there
Right.
is that slight chance, and then you are looking at him and you're saying, do we want to make sure this guy's in the organization next year? And if you want to make sure he's in the organization next year, then adding him to the 40 man's the right call.
You're hitting a couple key pieces there. For one, I kind of look at him like they're different players, right? And I know he played first, but he's more of an outfielder. The other guys I'm talking about are first baseman. But in the same sense, like, did they protect Malcolm Nunez? No. Did they protect Mason Martin? No. Did I have more intrigue on those two than maybe Jase Bowen? I think so. But at the
Matt
same
Gorski
time,
was another one. That was a no. Yeah.
Gorski, that's a really good example. That's a comp I want to use here too. Yeah, Gorski, he was tearing it up. But he was old for his age. Like we talked about that too. You didn't protect him. No team picked him up. But like with him, he's now in the conversation. So again, you want to talk about the intriguing part. I felt like before the AFL, I don't even want to talk about him. like what are we doing talking about Jase Bowen? That's what I think I'd have been at. Now that he's in the AFL and he's doing what he's doing, right? And we talk, like I said, short sample, you want to have it good. He's at least in the conversation. I think, like we can discuss it. We can talk pros and cons. I'm not on board with having him on the 40 man as well. But I think the biggest part about that is what you said too. It's not so much a knock on him. It's just where this organization needs to be at. We can't be talking about Jase Bowens. This team needs to be good. This team needs to be shopping. We can talk about right in the other part of the store. It's not the Jase Bowen store. Like we can't, if this team is going to be good, we can't worry about the Jase Bowens of the world. If Jase Bowen becomes a major league player, good. The Pirates have 60 of those guys. They need some dudes like we're talking about. Like we keep talking about the depth, right? I'm not worried about losing Jase Bowen. That's where I'm at. So if he is on the 40 man, I think I would be a little bit disappointed unless they feel like they can. Maybe not so much a Valade situation, but like he's on the 40 man, but maybe he's a casualty after, right? Because we know like maybe the winter meetings will be different, but like signings keeps happening like later and later and later. So maybe they feel like they can have him on the team and then.
So I think if he gets,
later.
I think if he gets added, he stays on just because like if you're talking about outfielders, there's Kanan Smith and Jigba, there's Joshua Palacios, and there's Miguel Andujar. If you DFA any of those three right now, they probably all clear waivers. So it's like there's other casualties that you can have other than Jase Bowen.
I agree, which again goes to my point that I'd rather him not. But
whereas Jase Bowen, if you DFA him, he doesn't clear waivers. He gets picked up by another team and stowed away in their system. So I agree with you in that like I don't think we need to necessarily worry about this if like this doesn't have a whole lot of impact on next year's team. I don't think it has a whole lot of impact on future teams either. Like I'm still thinking Jase Bowen's absolute ceiling is fourth outfielder, right? Like he's still not a starting outfielder.
First lefties, probably.
So you think of it this another way. We mentioned like how do you make this team better? Well, this team's acquired a lot of prospect depth, and Jase Bowen is part of that. One really good thing about the Arizona Fall League is every single team is there scouting their guys and your guys. I think right now, if I'm the Pirates, I'm hoping another team has taken notice of Jase Bowen and has said, you know what, that's a guy we want. And the Pirates can then trade Jase Bowen for someone who is going to help them next year. I think that's the play here, and he's getting a ton of exposure, which is great. He's playing really well, which is great. Hopefully they can kind of utilize this as draft capital. I think right now that's where Jase Bowen's highest value is he's doing this in front of scouts for every single team. He's performing well, and there may be a team who is fine with giving up a 40-man spot because they're not looking to compete next year, and they're saying, "Yeah, give me Jase Bowen. We'll put him in Double-A, and and see what happens.
I agree. You're probably right. Like his best way of finding success for the Pirates to trade him and
Yeah.
acquire what they actually need. Yeah, so more articles, Mayo. Let teams notice him, let fan base notice him, let fan bases like pound the table for a Jase Bowen trade in their system. So Charrington can make that deal to acquire and probably package somebody, some other piece to get what they really need. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know if he's at that level either with other teams, but hopefully maybe someone is and they worked it out. But at any rate, again, like I don't want to knock on Jase Bowen. Like he is having a fine season. And then in AFL, he's having a really good, time out there right now. Definitely getting noticed. I think he should be more known amongst Pirates fans now, right? Like take a little bit of notice. But again, like I don't want to overhype what he's doing. He's still a 23-year-old playing in a little bit lower of a level than he probably should be. Like now he's in the AFL. And again, we talk about the pitching in the AFL. It's not, I mean, there's some talent, right? There's some top prospects, but overall, again, if we really want, we could talk about the Pirates pitching they have in there, and it's terrible. And again, like that's who Jase Bowen's facing is like the other team's JC Flowers, right? So it's almost in a sense like he kind of should be playing pretty well over there. So it's good that he is, but he probably should be doing this.
Yeah, I think, and you brought up a good point a little bit ago where you just look at the Pirates' last few times that they've ran into a situation like this, and they haven't added Jase Bowen like prospects to their 40 man. Matt Gorski, Malcolm Nunez, Mason Martin. We can even talk about Blake Sable. Blake Sable played catcher, right, and was a better hitter than Jase Bowen, and they didn't protect him, right? He got
fair.
drafted. He got drafted, but like Blake Sable was a better hitter than Jase Bowen. So yeah, I think just by seeing that and remembering that, I'm not quite sure if he's 40 man material for this team yet, but I'm certainly interested in trading him and using him to acquire major league talent. Yeah, I think that's a real possibility.
Fully agree. All right. Well, then again, outside of Jase Bowen, is there anyone we want to talk about?
Jack Brannigan's showing some power. Yeah, Jack Brannigan's showing some power, but he's striking out just a crazy amount. Carter Benz
21
hasn't played a
strikeouts
lot
for him and 48 at bats.
Yeah,
it's
Carter
not
Benz
good
hasn't
for Jack Brannigan.
played a whole lot, but he is hitting the ball when he does play. But no, Jase Bowen's the only guy to really talk about down there. I said Jack Brannigan is worth having on your radar. Good defense, good power, but the strikeouts are a little crazy.
He's the opposite. I think what we talked about. His short sample is bad. Like it's still short sample, and what he's done, like there's still reasons to pay attention to him as a prospect. But in his short sample for Arizona Fall League, it's really bad. If you have a small sample, you don't want it. But the strikeouts are what's really concerning about him, though, as well.
Yeah, and that was the issue with him this year in the minors too. He struck out 33.5% of the time in high A,
and now it's worse.
Year 2 out of college, like, yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah, and like as far as the pitching goes, it's bad.
Don't even want to talk about any of the pitchers. There's just no point. If you want to go look up how the Pirates pitching prospects are doing in the Arizona Fall League, by all means, go ahead and do so. It is not worth mentioning on this show.
I think collectively they have more walks than strikeouts. Maybe more runs than strikeouts also.
Yeah, again, not really worth discussing.
No. All right. Well, outside of that, then I guess any predictions for tonight? Who wins Game 7?
I'm gonna go Astros and Phillies.
Hold on, Jim's picking the Astros.
I'm picking the Astros. Astros and Phillies.
All right. Well, I'll go Rangers and Phillies.
There we go.
There it is. All right. Well, appreciate everyone. And also, again, Pitt City, thanks once again. But we'll be back this week. Oh, the fanboys are going to be Wednesday. Jimothy.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, fanboys
Yeah.
will be this Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
looking
tune
forward to
in.
that.
We'll have that. And then the usual. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Hey, guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.